Have you ever wondered why some brands have customers who literally tattoo their logo on their body while others struggle to get a second purchase? The difference isn't the product quality. McDonald's doesn't make the best burgers, Chamberlain Coffee isn't objectively the best coffee, and Gary Vee definitely isn't the only business coach out there. But these brands have mastered something that most businesses completely ignore. They've turned their marketing into a story that people actually want to be a part of. So today, I'm gonna break down exactly how 3 wildly different brands use storytelling to build cult-like followings that generate countless millions in revenue. And more importantly, what you can steal from their playbook for your own business. Most business owners think storytelling is a nice to have, something for Disney and Nike to worry about. But here's what they're missing when they think that way, is that storytelling literally creates identity for your customers. They don't just buy from you anymore. They actually become part of your world, and that changes everything about how they interact with your brand. Stories spread naturally too, which is huge because people share stories at dinner parties, not product specifications, and this emotional connection drives what economists call irrational loyalty, which is why people happily pay $7 for Starbucks when gas station coffee is literally $1. And once you build a world around your brand, it creates ecosystem lock-in where leaving feels like actual betrayal to the community that they're a part of. Think about Apple users who would never switch to Android, myself included, because they don't want to leave their tribe. So let me break down exactly how 3 completely different brands turn these principles into millions of dollars. And let's start with one of the greats, Gary Vee. Gary Vee created an entire culture around entrepreneurship that millions of people see themselves inside of. And the genius part is that Gary never makes himself the hero of the story. You are the hero, and he's just your mentor. He positions every piece of content as you being the underdog entrepreneur who's about to make it big, and the common enemy in his narrative isn't competitors or the economy, it's your own excuses and the victim mentality choosing the traditional path. Your quest becomes building your empire through pure hustle and authenticity, which sounds simple, but becomes this addictive narrative. And the promised land he's always pointing to is financial freedom and living completely on your own terms. Gary has signature language that his entire community has adopted, phrases like clouds and dirt and document don't create, and these become inside jokes and identity markers where his followers can recognize each other out in the wild. He's got recurring characters in his content like his dad, who represents the immigrant success story and makes anything feel possible. He's got his origin myth of starting in his dad's liquor store and building Wine Library TV from nothing. And then there's the buy the Jets, his audacious goal that's so absurd it makes everyone else's dreams feel totally achievable by comparison.
Explain all of this with regard to the New York Jets.
I desperately want to buy them, Larry.
You do?
Yes, I do.
40 is still extremely young in his eyes.
You just turned 40 and you don't understand that you are still a baby. You're making a huge, huge mistake.
And everyone can decide to start today regardless of how old they are. And then how he actually drives massive revenue with this is that Gary's built entry products at every single price point. So no matter where you are financially, you can buy into the narrative. You can start with free content, then you buy his $20 books because you want more. And then suddenly you're considering his $1,000 courses. And eventually companies are paying him $100,000 speaking fees because having Gary at your event means you're serious about success. The level of identity-based purchasing is insane, where buying his stuff literally means you're one of the serious ones in the entrepreneurship world. Vayner Nation members hold each other accountable to keep consuming and implementing, which creates this self-reinforcing cycle, and missing his daily content actually creates FOMO because you feel like you're missing critical advice for your journey. What this has actually created is that VaynerMedia has grown to over $200 million in annual revenue using these exact principles. He commands speaking fees over $100,000 per engagement because companies buy into his story. Every book deal, NFT project, and restaurant venture sells out immediately because people aren't buying products, they're buying deeper into the narrative. And his customers will literally buy anything he creates next because at this point, they're fully committed to the story. Now let's break down the brand narrative and how they built it with a completely different brand of McDonald's. McDonald's mastered selling predictable comfort in an unpredictable world, and they built an entire universe around that promise. If you think about it, McDonald's is this consistent, safe space that exists in literally every town that you'll ever visit. And the promise isn't great food, it's that you know exactly what you'll get every single time you walk through those doors or drive through that drive-thru. They've created characters like Ronald McDonald, Grimace, and the Hamburglar that trigger massive childhood nostalgia, and the rituals they've built, Happy Meals, play places, birthday parties. These aren't just products, they're life moments that are tied to the brand. Your relationship with McDonald's evolves from childhood treats to late night drunk food to your morning coffee routine. They've built their entirely own world where those golden arches visible from highways are beacons of familiarity in unfamiliar places. The smell, the sounds, the red and yellow colors, every element is designed to trigger memory and comfort. They've even turned their failures into memes where everyone knows the ice cream machine is always broken. And then how this brand story actually multiplies revenue is that they maximize their lifetime value by hooking you as a kid and then keeping you for literally your entire life. It becomes habitual purchasing with your breakfast routine, quick lunches, dinner when you're too tired to cook, and they can charge premium prices for nostalgia. They've sold adult Happy Meals for twice the price as their regular meals. McCafe mainly works because of the brand trust, because the coffee isn't better than Starbucks, but the story includes coffee now. And they've obviously got numbers to back this up. McDonald's generates $23 billion in annual revenue from selling average food at premium prices. They serve 60 million customers daily who could eat anywhere but choose the familiar story. And their real estate portfolio is worth over $40 billion because franchisees will pay anything to be a part of the system. Franchise owners gladly pay massive fees because they're not buying a restaurant, they're buying into a proven narrative. And now let's break down the third, very different brand, Chamberlain Coffee, built and scaled up from Emma Chamberlain. See, Emma built Chamberlain Coffee into a multi-million-dollar brand by creating a story that her audience literally grew up inside of. Emma positioned herself as the relatable mess that every young person sees themselves in. Her journey wasn't polished or perfect, it was growing up in public and figuring out life together with her audience. The aesthetic that she created was carefully curated where it was messy enough to be relatable, but aspirational enough to follow along. And her values were clear from day one: authenticity over perfection, trying over succeeding, and being real over being right. The evolution from YouTube teenager to coffee entrepreneur happened in real time, and her audience witnessed every single step. So here's how she built her own world of brand. She told vulnerable stories about anxiety, loneliness, and mistakes that made them part of the narrative, not PR problems. She has a very specific editing style with the zooms, the text overlays, the cuts, and this all became something that other creators copied. Coffee is my personality started as a joke, but became an actual coffee brand because the audience already bought into the story.
I feel like coffee is something I've always shared with my close friends and family. You know what I mean? Like it's something that I've always made very sacred with the people that I love in my life.
And her fans feel like they helped build the brand because she included them in decisions and made them feel like co-creators. How this is all driven revenue is that the coffee brand felt like natural character development and not a quick cash grab sellout move. So when people buy Chamberlain Coffee, they're not buying coffee, they're supporting their friend's dream. This allows her to charge $20 for coffee that costs $8 elsewhere because of the emotional connection to her journey. Whatever Emma does next, whether it's fashion, beauty, lifestyle, her audience will follow because they're invested in her story and not just her products. The business results from this is that Chamberlain Coffee is valued at over $40 million and growing rapidly. Her products are in Walmart, Target, and Whole Foods and other major retailers betting on her narrative. She has 16 million YouTube subscribers who are customers waiting to happen and not just viewer. And every podcast deal and fashion partnership is just another extension of the story her audience is living inside. So what are the takeaways from this, and what lessons can you actually implement yourself to drive massive increases in revenue? After analyzing hundreds of brands generating billions in revenue, here's what actually matters for turning stories into money. First, identity transformation is everything. When you buy from Gary Vee, you're not buying a course, you're becoming an entrepreneur. McDonald's customers aren't eating fast food, they're participating in Americana. Chamberlain Coffee drinkers aren't just caffeinated, they're part of that girl aesthetic. People will pay absolutely insane premiums to become who they want to be, not just to get what they need. Next is creating an ecosystem. Once you're deep in the story, leaving feels like actual betrayal to yourself and the community. Each purchase deepens your narrative investment until you can't imagine switching brands. The community reinforces continued participation through social pressure and shared identity, and switching brands becomes emotional, not financial, which is way more powerful than any contract. This also amplifies your virality. Stories spread naturally without spending $1 on paid advertising because people want to share them. Your customers become marketers for free because telling your story makes them look good. And user-generated content extends your narrative without you having to create anything new. This just recently happened with McDonald's with the snack wrap and the McCrispy tenders. All of this drives way more word of mouth for your business, which converts 10 times higher than ads because everyone comes in with built-in trust. What's happening in your customer's brain when you tell stories is that stories activate 7 times more brain regions than facts, which means people literally feel your content instead of just processing it. Emotional memories are twice as strong as logical ones, so story-based marketing sticks while feature lists fade out. Mirror neurons in our brain make us feel like we're actually part of the story, not just watching from the outside, and your brain releases oxytocin when engaging with stories, creating actual chemical bonding with brands. Loss aversion kicks in hard because leaving your brand story feels like losing part of their identity. Social proof gets supercharged when others in the story validate their participation and choices. Sunk cost fallacy also means that the more someone invests in your narrative, the harder it becomes to leave. And this taps into confirmation bias, where it makes them actively seek evidence of choosing your brand was the right decision. Every business owner thinks they need better products, better prices, or better features, but what they really need is a story and a brand that people desperately want to be a part of. And that story drives more revenue than any product improvement ever could. If you run a business doing over $3 million per year and you want our team of experts to help you become the #1 brand in your industry, and you want to learn step by step how we implement this process and guarantee anywhere between 1 million to 100 million views in the first 90 days, check out our free case study training that's linked in the description below. On that page, you learn exactly how this works, what it includes, if you're fit, and you can apply to receive, again, your custom guarantee between 1 million to 100 million views in 90 days, or we work for free. Also, make sure to subscribe if you haven't already for more game to scale your socials, and share this with another business owner who needs to see it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.